me about it. Come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now, inspirational perspective.
Most of us live and die without even really touching the essence of our own lives. Like, think about that. Like, we live and die, and we haven't even experienced the true essence of ourselves. Why is that important? It's because essence is part of how you create in this life. And part of what I'm going to talk about today is, what is essence? Like, what exactly is this thing? We talk about the spirit. We talk about the soul. I think I've talked about the differentiate, like the distinct. I believe I've distinguished the two. That's not what today's show is about. Today's show is really about us understanding ourselves and the major component of like our lives, like what makes us alive, what gives us our uniqueness, what makes us special. And God is good, man. I was watching my daughter last night. Family over. Her aunt was holding her, and she's like pure essence. And when I explain what essence is, you begin to understand what I mean, right? But a child, an infant, is pure essence. And here's what I mean by it. She had no concerns about externally what we thought about what she did. None. The only thing that mattered is what she was focused on, which was grabbing whatever was in front of her, right? That all her focus was on that. Now, mind you, she's still gaining the ability to fully move her phalanges, and fingers the way that she needs. So there's a lot of focus going into it. But I thought this one thing. I'm going to start the show this way, and then we're going to get into what essence is and this second awareness, and I'll share the 4 awarenesses in a moment. But I thought to myself, just what if we adults carried that same level of focus for what it is that we were working on? Just all that matters right now, not what's being said over here, not what's happening over there. All that matters right now is if I can just grab this toy. Right? If I can just grab this goal. All that matters right now, if I can just grab this. That's what I mean by pure essence. Now, we're going to get into it. But just watching her, I was like, wow. So what is essence? What is essence? For those of you watching Facebook, I have a visual. And I'll ask Ade to put the visual up in a moment. But when you think about essence, matter of fact, put the visual up now. When you think about essence, essence is your connection to the Creator. Those of you who are watching on Facebook right now, what you're looking at is a framework. And this framework basically articulates or shows what essence is. Okay? And so for those of you who can't see it, I'm going to describe what they're looking at on Facebook. And what they're looking at is a circle, 2 circles that intersect. They're on top of each other. And one circle is labeled God. And the second circle is labeled human beings. And the intersection of these 2 circles, the intersection is essence. All right, now, here is how I want you to think about this. If God is the creator of all things, right? And by the way, this conversation of essence, at least the way I explain it, there's some Buddhists that explain essence, and so they may not connect it to God per se. They might say the universe, life force, this, all these different things, right? But what you'll find interesting is as you do research on different religions, all of them agree that there is some level, like man and women have some level of essence, okay? And we're talking about what that is today. So God is the creator of all things. And when he created man and woman, he gave us a piece of his spirit, right? This is, and by the way, when we're children, many of us, at least in Christian households, even in Muslim households, read Genesis, right? And we read this, and we read this whole notion of God giving his spirit to Adam. And there's no real significance given to that, right? Other than, Adam has dominion. How does Adam have dominion? Because he has God's spirit. And that's the gift. That is what distinguishes man from anything else on the planet or anything else in the universe, is that we share his, capital H, spirit, right? His spirit. And what makes us special is the presence of his spirit in us. This is our essence. This is our essence. Now, human beings, we are made in the image of God, right? And we all know I'm not making this stuff up, right? This is documented in religious books, texts, scriptures, etc. And we have a piece of the Creator in us, known as the Spirit. And so God is the creator of all things, right? Look around us, right? The trees, the grass, the mountains, rain, the vastness of the ocean. Just think about this, right? You ever been in the ocean and a wave hit you? Justin, how tall are you, man? Just put your mic on.
I'm 6'6".
All right, Justin is 6'6", right? That's above average height for a man, right? You mind sharing your weight?
310.
Okay. It's a big man, right? It's a big brother. You mean to tell me that a wave can knock you down?
It has.
It has. Okay. Now, I want you to, just so we can understand the magnificence of the Creator, right? That wave was a microfraction that we could barely begin to understand of the ocean. A microfraction of the ocean. It knocks you down, right?
Yeah.
Now, and the ocean is also made up of little small drops. These are the same little drops that, Justin, when you're walking, you don't even acknowledge. If it's a little drizzle, right? You walk into your car, you don't even acknowledge it. But the ocean that knocks you down is made up of the same small drops. This is the magnificence of the Creator. Like his ability to give us so much variety, so much diversity, right? I mean, it's beautiful. Think about like a little piece of water. You're walking outside, a little piece of water hits you. You go, it's going to rain today. Keep walking, nothing. But then you step into just a micro fraction of the ocean and it knocks you down. The Creator of all things. That's want us to get how magnificent the Creator is. And by the way, many of us go days without acknowledging him. Whew. Think about that. Think about how crude that is. I'm not even going there. That's not even the point today, right? Some of us think, I did this. I built this. You could be taken out with one wave. One wave. Okay. That's why, if anything, you should just pray because of the awesomeness and fear you should have and when I say fear, healthy fear, right? But fear you have of the Creator. Okay. So God is the creator of all things, and he gave human beings a piece, right? All it takes is a piece. Like, I want you to understand that you can say, well, now, I mean, it's just a small piece. I'm like, but again, we're talking about the creator, the all-present, omniscient, omnipresent creator. All I need is a small piece to be magnificent myself. All I need, like, I really want you to get this. Like, if you can breathe right now, you hear my voice, that means that you're alive. And if you're alive, that means your spirit is filling your body, your physical realm. And because it's filling your physical realm, we talked about this last week, it heats it up to 98.6 degrees. It heats it up. Why? Because when it's gone, it's cold. So we know that must be where the heat comes from. That means that you have a piece of the magnificent creator inside of you. And if God is the creator of all things, the macro creator, right? We can't create without using his creation. Look at a skyscraper. That steel ore is mined from the ground. Who put it there? Those bricks are molded with the sand and stone and mortar from the ground, limestone from the ground. Who created that? See, because we get caught up in ourselves sometimes. I did this. No, you didn't. You did it with lots of help. Whole lot of help. You can't create matter. The creator, think about this. The creator created matter. Right? He's not held within the constructs of his creation. So we have a piece of that. A piece of his ability, think about this, to not be held within the confines of creation. Human beings. Which means as a human, I can manifest creation. I have a piece. I got a piece of that. And we have. I drove a beautiful vehicle here today, right? That's a manifestation of a human being. And then my manifestation in purchasing, right? Like, so it was created, and then I said, I'll create that for me. Like, I'll take that for me. And so we're constantly creating. Whatever circumstance, whatever reality you have right now, you created it. Through thoughts, emotions, words, and actions. Now, the creative capacity that we use is our essence, and we all have it. Let me give you an example of essence at work. See, because sometimes, things, we witness things that don't make sense. Don't make sense. Here's something that, we call Muhammad Ali the greatest. Right? The greatest. Muhammad Ali defeated George Foreman. That does not make physical sense. All right, you go back and watch the fight. It does not make physical sense. How did Muhammad Ali defeat George Foreman? Essence. Essence. I just talked about, not too long ago, a video of David Goggins, who is a smaller, structured man. Strong, though. Don't the brother's bad. Okay? And he was challenged by a former offensive lineman who stood well over him. I mean, much bigger than him in weight and size and mass and matter. Challenged him to an arm wrestling match. he could not beat David. How is that possible? How is that possible? Essence. Essence. When we learn how to tap into our essence, it provides a different level of power in the earth realm. Some things don't make sense. It doesn't make sense that this man could not beat David Goggins. Didn't make sense. I could go through example after example of feats that humans have made that did not make sense in the physical realm. And the explanation of their success is that they had access to something bigger and more powerful than their physical body. What beat George Foreman was the spirit of Muhammad Ali. We get that? Like, do we really understand that? Now, in order to do it, he had to put his body through the physical regimen, right? I mean, if he was a weak man, you can't just call on your essence, right? I know somebody listening right now, oh my, it means, I could just call on mine. No, you have to create the pathway for your essence to present itself, right? You have to create the pathway. He had a knowledge of boxing, right? He was a boxer. So don't go get in the ring with somebody talking about, I'm about to tap into my essence this morning. You'll get knocked out. Get my point, okay? He deployed his essence in the direction of his purpose. This is why number 3, when we talk about knowing your direction and purpose in life, is so important. Because then you have a way to funnel that power. And when you funnel your power through the direction of your purpose, wonderful things happen. All right, so that's just like, those are like little case studies, so that on a personal level. I remember the first time I was on the radio. We were supposed to play a clip today. But I remember the first time I was on the radio 10 years ago today, or Thursday. I was way in over my head. I was a speaker. I knew how to speak. I knew how to hold a conversation. I had never done radio. How did I do it? How did I continue to do it? Essence. Deploying my spiritual power through the pathway of my purpose. What powered me that day, through all the fear, through all the confusion, through all the things that were running through my mind, was, this is what you're supposed to do. And so I had to tap into something deeper than me so I could do it. This is the definition when we go into the dictionary. This is the definition of essence. This is the definition. Get out your notebooks and all those things. You want to take notes on this one. You want to refer back to this one if you want to live powerfully. Essence is a noun. It's important for us to understand that all essence goes through or is known as a state of being. And this is important. It's who you be. Now, the reason why many people don't operate from essence, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'll go there, is because you don't know who you be. So if you don't have identity, you cannot operate powerfully from essence. Now, to my community listening, a so-called black folk, why do you think they want to keep your identity from you? Why do you think there's so many distractions from you truly understanding who you are? As a matter of fact, part of the way that our ancestors were transformed into slaves. How do you take a free individual and over time, not just that person, but their lineage, create individuals, sovereign individuals, right? Human beings who have spirits. How do you create and make them subservient? How does that happen? You have to erase the knowledge they have of themselves. You have to erase that. That's why the language was taken. That's why new names were given, right? That's why you couldn't have any volition, because if I take your identity, then you are who I say you are. Because your identity is connected to your essence. And we had a few who said, now, wait a second. I am somebody, i.e. Frederick Douglass, right? You had certain ones that said, well, wait a second. This doesn't feel right. And they tapped into their spirit and created something that was impossible for that time. How does Frederick Douglass learn to read? Memorize the Columbian Orator, escape slavery, become an abolitionist, become one of the right-hand advisors of the president of the former slave of the United States of America, one of the most well-known orators of his time, well-known speakers and talkers, former slave. How does that happen? Essence. Somehow, somebody slipped up somewhere, and he figured out who he was. And when he figured out his identity, it reconnected him to his spirit essence. Here's the sad part. This is why I got so emotional last week. 21st century. You's free, and you don't know who you be. Whew. Whew. And it ain't just black folk. I ain't just talking about so-called black folk. I'm talking about white folk don't know who they are. Yellow folk don't know who they are. If we're going to use colors, right? Brown folk don't know who they are. People just don't know who they are, who they be. They have no idea how powerful they are. Makes you wonder if it's by design. So here's the definition of essence. The definition of essence is the basic nature of a thing. The basic nature. Think about that. The basic nature of a human being. The basic nature. How have we gotten so far from our basic nature, which, by the way, is sovereign? You have dominion. Like, just think about that. I am sovereign and I have dominion over the earth realm. What's in the earth realm? Water, food, money. Oh, wait a second. But most of us, we have very little power and access. The second definition of essence, the quality or qualities that make a thing what it is. The quality or qualities that make a thing what it is. For instance, what is the essence of love? Like, the essence of love is the basic nature of love. What is the basic nature of love? Like, you can feel it. You can describe it. We know that love is unselfish. Love is kind. Love is giving. These are the essence. That is the essence of love, right? Those, by the way, are not the descriptions of love, the adjectives of love. These are the beings, right? The state of being of love. Now, when you look at the synonyms of the word essence, here's what comes up. Substance. And I want you to think, when you think substance, I want you to think spiritual substance. Like spiritual substance, what your spirit is made of, essence. Spirit. Others, when they talk about the synonym, they call it your lifeblood, like your life force. Your life force. How is it that we educate human beings, but somehow we skip over the basic nature of the human being? How is that? How does that make sense? How do I educate a human being, but I actually skip over the nature of who the human being is? In my household, we don't do that. My son, because he can comprehend, right? Rain is still too young. But I'm constantly telling him how powerful he is. Son, don't do that. Don't say that. You're a powerful being. That is the role the Creator's given me as his steward. Right? To teach him the basic nature of who it is that he is, which is powerful. You, son, are powerful. If you have children, it's time for you to change your language. If you refer to them as anything, you need to be referring to them as the basic nature of who it is that they are. Power. Power. Now, the power gets out of hand sometimes because it's in a child, right? But think about the energy that a child possesses. I was just on a field trip with my son this past week. One of the girls' grandmother, she was on the bus, and on the way back, she had that look on her face like, whoo! And I said, they got a lot of energy, don't they? She said, my. Where does that energy come from? Why is it different for us? I believe that children are so connected to their essence, that's what it flows through them. And then what happens is external forces over time begin to sap and separate us from our power, which is why you're so exhausted all the time. My son can go from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to sleep. He don't even know he's tired. Son, you're tired. No, I'm not, Daddy. Jump in. No, I'm not, Daddy. Right? He lays down. Out. Where's that energy come from? His essence. His essence. So essence is the lifeblood. It's also, another synonym is the heart. When somebody says, Dave, we're going to get to the heart of the matter, right? What do they mean by that? Like, we're going to get there, right? We're going to the core, right? Which is another way to describe, another synonym for essence is core. Dr. Maxwell Maltz. By the way, I'm about to slide through scripture, philosophers, psychologists, authors, medical gurus, and surgeons, because I don't want anybody being like, Linnell got on the air today and made some stuff up. Nah, it's well documented. Problem is, most of us don't even know where to look. You want to hide something? Put it in a book. You want to hide how powerful human beings are? Put it in a bunch of books and never teach it. Dr. Maxwell Maltz said that human beings have an essence or a life force that cannot be reduced to a mere brain and physical body. Think about that. There's something going on with the human being. This man was a plastic surgeon. And he had performed many, many plastic surgeries. He also had some has some expertise with the early computer. And he was so taken by this, he wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetics. And in this book, which, by the way, is a phenomenal read for anybody who's interested in operating powerfully, he says that human beings have an essence or a life force that cannot be reduced to the mere physical qualities of the body, the brain, the heart. Like, you think about what keeps you alive, right? The brain, the heart, the lungs, the nervous system, and how spectacular all these things work together. He said, even though they're spectacular, you cannot reduce the human being to the spectacular nature of the body. There's something else at play. Something else going on. I was quoting Dr. Maxwell Maltz, where he said, man is not a machine, but has and uses a machine. And then these are my words. The spirit powers this machine, right? That's who we are. And each spirit has unique creative qualities. This is called essence. Now, I want to go back to Bergson's. Bergson called this essence elan vital, right? Now, let's go look up the etymology of the word elan, right? If we look up the etymology of the word elan, what we find is that it comes from an old Middle French, and it says to throw or cast a lance or dart, right? So elan means like there's velocity, to throw something with velocity. So, and vital, what does that mean, right? So there's something, it's like another way to say, now that's Eslan, I'm looking at elan, is to throw or cast a lance or dart, right? So then if we look up the word vital, by the way, this is how you should be doing your research when you're reading. You want to know the meaning behind words. So the etymology of the word vital, right, vital, is of or manifesting life, right? So then you put elan vital together, and what he's saying is there is some, like a lance, like there's some life force that is moving, manifest, like a manifestation of moving life force is a way to break that down when Bergson says elan vital. And this is where he goes on to say, a person cannot be defined by their physical body or brain, right? It's elan vital, is how he would say it, right? And just as electricity cannot be defined by the wire through which it travels, right? Electricity is like a lance moving through a wire that is full of energy, vital, right? You can't define electricity by the wire. So you point to the wire and say that's electricity, you're wrong. It's just something that electricity moves through. You point to the human body, you say that's life, you're wrong, right? Because the body is just something that the spirit powers and travels through. Now, here is the proof. Somebody's like, they're holding their head right now, like, what? And I need you, like, this is one of those shows you might have to watch twice or 3 times or listen to, right? And you can watch it on YouTube in a few weeks. Now, here's what I mean. Bergson then ends what he's saying with, we are rather systems in constant flux. A system in constant flux. All right, what does that mean? The essence of who you are does not change. Essence is constant. Essence is, in many ways, permanent. You can even almost say eternal, right? Because it's part of the spirit that does not die. All right? However, we get mixed up. We believe life is what I'm looking at in the mirror. But it really can't be if you think about it. Because what I looked like 20 years ago is not what I look at like now. I'm a different being. What makes me me then? How can I say that I am Linnell Harris? My essence. There are aspects and qualities that I have never changed. My daughter right now, she'll be 6 months in 2 days. She's an arm baby, right? I can hold her right here in the cuff of my arm. She's an arm baby. I hold her one arm. 5 years from now, I won't be able to do that. I'll need 2 arms and a little more strength, right? I can walk around. The other day I had her in this arm. My son was running across the room and bow right into me, right? It didn't even impact Ray, right? I was able to absorb the blow of his 5-year-old body into mine. Now, fast forward, I can have my arms around Rain 20 years from now. If he runs with that same velocity, we both fall. Why? Because his body is in constant flux. It will change. What he looks like today, he won't look like 20 years from now. The mass, everything about him will change except his essence. Except his essence. Here's the other thing that we should understand about essence. Essence, so it's the very nature of who it is that we are. Essence is also your state of being when you are completely unfiltered from external influencers, okay? Like my state of being when I'm completely unfiltered from external influence. Now, here's the piece to keep in mind. Trauma, like this is physical trauma, mental trauma, emotional trauma, because this is the machine that I'm using in the earth realm through life, through what we call life, can disrupt my ability to channel my essence. Now, why is that? The reason is because then my being, because I'm a being, my being becomes more focused on physical preservation or protection, right? It becomes more focused on the machine than what's powering the machine, right? This is where, sometimes you hear the term, their spirit was broken. Well, I want you to consider that the spirit cannot be broken, but the connection can. You all get that? So when a person's spirit is broken, that means that their connection, the spirit's connection to the being is broken. And part of that is because our consciousness is now more focused on physical, mental, emotional preservation. Thus, I'm not present to my essence. This is secondary, right? This is where Maslow talks about his hierarchy. Like, so you get to altruism. Altruism is my ability to actually be curious about my purpose and how I live and power that particular purpose. The essence of a specific individual is that which he is by virtue of his nature. And then we started to go back to the definition in the computer shutout, right? Now remember, the definition of essence is the basic nature of a thing. All right? So let's go back to Spurgeon. And he continues to say, one could say that it is the special thing in any given person that he cannot lose without ceasing to be himself. Now think about that. I can lose my hair, right? I don't cease to be myself, though, right? I could lose an arm. I don't cease to be myself. Why is that, right? I mean, because if the totality of who I am is who I am right now in this moment, then how is it that a person could lose limbs and still be themselves? Essence. Like, if life was all about the body, then that's it. You're disabled. You don't have access. But it's not about the body. This is just the vehicle. And so I still be my essence. This is why often, some people who struggle with things, you can go down a list of people, blind, disabled, etc. They tend to excel because they have to tap into their essence. Like they're forced to. I can't see. I'm forced to go somewhere else to create, right? I.e. Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. I mean, we go down the list. How could he play the piano? He can't see. Essence. Essence. All right. Essence is the organizing principle of connection between the basic elements or aspects of an object. So what this means, I want you to think about it like this. These are my words. Everything has an essence. Everything that God created has an essence. And this essence has a particular vibration, frequency, and impact. Now, let's talk about it. Flowers, we have some flowers sitting on the counter in the kitchen, right? My wife brought these flowers in last week. Those flowers have an essence, right? They fill the room with a different vibration. Take the flowers out, and something like if you knew the flowers were there, something's missing because the flowers themselves have an essence. And then there are multiple flowers. There are purple flowers, yellow flowers, different colors. They have an essence. If a flower has an essence, right? And think about the lifespan of a flower. But it gives off an energy. You can, right now, I could test this thing, right? I could stop on the way home and pick up some flowers for my wife. Now, without even telling you all understand the impact that the essence of the flowers are going to have on my wife, right? It's for me? Oh, wow. Thank you, right? Matter of fact, it'll be so strong, she'll throw out the other flowers and put those in place. Pow, right? The essence. Grass has an essence. Don't believe me? Take it all away. Right? Wood, a 2x4, has an essence. There's a nature, right? Don't believe me? Let somebody hit you with it. Right? It has an essence to it, a vibration, a frequency. So Spurgeon goes on to say, and I'm just breaking down what he's saying here, right? Essence is the organizing principle of connection between basic elements or aspects of an object, right? So that's why I went into the flowers and 2x4s, etc. It is a kind of thread upon which everything hangs. When he says it, he's talking about essence. Essence is a kind of thread upon which everything hangs. Cut the essence, right? Cut the spiritual nature, and the assembly falls to pieces. Nothing is left but elusive particles, and the general order is destroyed. So another way to think about this is essence is part of what keeps things in order. Is it why humans are so out of order now? Because we have no connection to our essence. Everything else knows what it's supposed to be. The grass is not saying I'm something else. The grass is not trying to give off a different essence, a different vibe. the grass is just grass, right? The flower doesn't say, why am I not a tulip if it's a rose? It doesn't. It embodies the essence of rose. Here is why we're so confused. Because I'll look at our day and I'll go, yeah, that was nice. That was, that's kind of powerful. And then I'll compare myself to our day. That's like the rose comparing itself to the tulip. Oh, why I can't do it like our day? Now I feel disempowered. If a rose could do it, I believe that we would watch it wilt and slowly die. And this is what's happening to many of us spiritually. We're wilted and dying because instead of being thoughtful and concerned about who it is that the Creator made me to be, so I can exude that essence, I'm looking at everybody else. When you think about essence, the idea is that essence is part of how we create in the earth realm. So I'm creating. I'm a creative force. With the Creator's help, right? And why I say the Creator's help, because I want to be channeled in the direction that the Creator created me to be. The same way the grass is channeled in the direction that the Creator designed it to be. The grass doesn't look at the tree and go, oh, I wish I could be so high. The grass knows that by its very nature, the tree could not be high without it. Right? It's like me helping Justin and Justin excelling, and then I go, I wish I was doing what Justin was doing. When I helped Justin get where he is, and Justin could not be doing what he's doing without me being who I am. It's like your coach wishing he was LeBron James. Like, imagine if I was like, man, I wish I was living LeBron James' life. And by the way, this could be humorous, but we do this on some capacity. This is what envy is, folks. There would be no mention of envy in the scripture if we didn't do it. All right, so here is where we mess up, right? So talking about how do we connect to our essence? This is how we connect to our essence. Most human beings, we create from the past rather than the future. Let that sink in real quick. Our vibration is concerned about the next present moment in relationship to the past. Like if you have difficulty in relationship or like getting in relationship, listen to this. I'm going to use relationship as an example. My ex hurt me, so I have difficulty trusting you. Right? But you are my future. But I'm going to create the relationship from the past. See, we're always creating whether we have full access or not. So I'm going to create my relationship from the past. My concerns for this relationship that I should be creating from the future is going to be based in my past. How much sense does that make? As a sovereign human being that can create, I'm going to use my past to create but this is what most of us are doing, which is why we're not creating powerfully. Because every part of my creation, we can use finances too. Let me tell you how this works. Somebody could be blessed, get a $5,000 check, blessed, right? You're like, woo, Jesus, I needed this. And then we'll create how we use the $5,000 from the past. Oh, the last time I got this money, I wasted it. I don't want to do that. And then we do it. Because the reference for creation for that money was held in the past. The past is gone. But this is the distinction between the brain and the mind. The mind, our consciousness, can live in multiple dimensions. And essence in itself, when connected with that, only creates powerfully when we create from the future. When I create from the past, I completely cut out my essence. There's no need for it because all the data is already there. The way of being is already, all those things are already there. So if I'm to create powerfully, I must create from this moment with a vision for the future. Creating from the future requires a connection and understanding of your spiritual essence. And each person is unique, thus their essence is unique. You weren't designed to create what I'm creating. You were designed to create what you were supposed to create through the channel of your purpose. We talk about that next week. Through the channel of your purpose. So, in coaching, we help the client identify their essence via an exercise that leads to 5 essence names. Here's how we do it. That's right, Jerry. Create with the end in mind. Create with the end in mind. The end is in the future. A lot of us are creating with the past in mind. Got a question here. So are we always evolving and growing? The human aspect of us is. The physical aspect of us is. Essence has everything it needs already. This is why we tap into essence to create. Right? We were sent here with the ultimate program. We were sent here with the ultimate program. Problem is, many of us never ever download it. We never download that program. We never tap into that program. And the reason we don't is because as soon as we get here, there's another program operating, right? Called life, called K through 12. And I'm not saying education is not good. It's just the education is a program. And so as parents, we got to be thoughtful about what our children are being programmed. Somebody asked me just recently, they said, oh, you got Legend in a private school. Why would you have it in a private school? You all live in one of the best districts in Chicago. They got phenomenal schools. Right? Because I'm not concerned about what you call, quote unquote, education. I'm concerned about the program. It's imperative that my son is programmed intentionally. You get where I'm going? His education comes with a program. I need to ensure that his program connects him, 1, to the Creator, and 2, to his spiritual essence. This is how folks who have, like, somebody, I got a 3rd grade education, I'm a multi-millionaire. How'd he do that? Because he was on the right program. Tapped into his essence. Tapped into her essence. All right. But there's programs running. We get born. Most of us are inserted. Think about this. We're inserted into the program before we can even walk, i.e. daycare. Somebody else is programming the child. Whew. And we wonder why we don't stand a chance. Your essence is your superpower. You came with it. You were designed with it. There are ways of being that you have access to that are unlimited and abundant. That's where you want to create from. Let me say it again. Let me make sure you get it. There are ways of being that you have access to. Mind you, I talked about trauma, how it disconnects us when a person says a spirit is broken. You know, this is why healing is so important. I tell folks all that, man, your number one priority is if you feel like your spirit has been broken, which really means that there's a disconnection between spirit and body, because the spirit can't be broken. So if you need to reconnect, this is why therapy is so important. I was one of those people. Like, something's wrong. I couldn't figure out what's wrong. Like, man, I feel like I can't operate powerfully. The connection was broken. Therapy, coaching, reconnecting. The connection is there now. Right? So, let me say this first. The way that I know how to distinguish essence is primitive. In the nature of essence itself, is primitive, right? And I say this not to disqualify it, but so we understand how powerful essence is, right? The fact that I can right now say, well, my name is Linnell Harris, and part of who my essence is love, peace, connection, sovereignty, and enchantment. The fact that I can say that is a blessing, and it's also primitive when you really think about the bare bone nature of how powerful essence is, right? I want you to, like, if in any way you admire who the Creator has allowed me to be, if in any way you admire it, I want you to understand that I've been able to create with just a fraction of the necessary knowledge of my essence. Like, I don't believe I have a full, you get where I'm going? Like, I get it a little bit. My prayer is that I can get it a lot of bit in this lifetime, okay? But I get it just a little bit. And all it requires, again, remember how powerful the Creator is, right? He just gave us a little bit of his spirit, and then you got just a little bit of knowledge of how to tap into it. There's another question. Is education really important if all we have to do is tap into our essence? Yes, it's important. Let me tell you why. Because, you know, the good teacher said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? There's a reason for that. You have to understand how to operate in the earth realm. There's a science to everything. There's a science to taking care of this physical vehicle. You have to know that, right? There's a science to relating and being in relationship. To be powerful in the earth realm, you have to know that. You can't just be a powerhouse and destroy your relationships, right? You have to know that. People who do that we call narcissists, by the way. There is a science to career, to entrepreneurship. Like, there has to be knowledge and education around those things. There's a science to money. Money in itself is an illusion, but it operates within certain principles. You have to understand those principles, right? You also need a knowledge of the Creator. That's education. That's programming. A knowledge of your purpose and your spiritual capacity. That comes through education. What I'm saying is education, I believe education today is focused on a lot of things that don't matter. And the programming itself, what they're concerned with is the programming, which is why it focuses on things that don't matter. So it has been documented that a person's essence is their individuality defined. All right, so now let's remember, essence is a state of being. So all of us have a state of being. Now, this state of being is so powerful. Let me tell you how powerful it is. That what happens many times is you actually can distinguish another person's essence. You don't even know you did it. Let me give you an example of what I mean. When I do the purpose workshop, one of the things that we do is we distinguish our spiritual substance and essence at the workshop. And this can be virtual, it can be live. It doesn't even matter. This is how the vibration of essence works in us as human beings. I'll have a group of people, let's say 20 to 25 people in a room. And I'll say, okay, I need a volunteer to come up to the front of the room with me. This person will walk to the front of the room. And I'll say, okay, I want you to take them in, not their physical qualities, right? But their spiritual essence. Who do you see? Who do you experience in this moment in this room? What qualities show up? Who do they be? And almost immediately, people start pointing to their essence. Leader, pillar, joy, friend, peace. They start pointing to states of being, right? Now, I use other people because many of us don't have access. Like we have gone through so much in life that if somebody said there's a leader in there, we'll go, huh? No, not me. No, not me. You know, I'm just little old me and I do this. And it's like, there's a leader in there, right? And other people are like, no, he's right. There's a leader in there, right? And they're like, well, no. No, they know sometimes, but then there's a part of them that, here's how essence works. There's a part of them that when you name essence, it's inside of you, it responds. It's like, here I am. There's a part of them that goes, yeah, this us. And they like, oh, wow. Because at the end of that part of the workshop, when that person's up, we write down everything that everyone says. And I say, does anything on this page, like, is there anything that doesn't resonate? Is there anything that you would take away? And they look at it. Often people start crying, right? Because they've now distinguished their true identity. That's why it's emotional. They have never been in a place where someone has supported them in distinguishing who they truly are, because who you are in the mirror is nothing more than just a reflection that is in constant flux. If I relate to myself as the guy in the mirror, how would I relate to myself at 80 years old when everything is gray? Maybe my hair isn't there, you know? My hands are wrinkled. Like, oh, I'm not powerful anymore. Yes, I will be. Why? Because as long as life is running this machine, I have access to essence. Whew. Isn't that something? You know, people get afraid of aging. You're afraid of aging because you only are aware of the physical body. I look forward to it because that means I have more access to my essence. You remember when I said, like, I might just have a little bit now? My prayer is that I have a little bit more. That means I have access to more? It means I can create more powerfully. I can touch more lives. Isn't that a blessing? Age is a blessing when I'm aware that the body is in constant flux, and the idea of life is that I'm gaining more and more knowledge that I can use to support and help other people in my purpose, in the channel of my purpose for being. The Creator gave us a purpose for being that is our essence of who we should be. It aligns. So when I'm being love, when I'm being peace, I'm creating powerfully. Just by being. Let me tell you how essence works. Quick story. Years ago, I had a coworker who smoked cigarettes. And I was traveling the world, and this individual worked for me, was one of the senior managers on my team. I was a director. And we would go start call centers, things like that. And they were on my team. They were a smoker, pretty much. I wouldn't say a chain smoker, but a smoker. Like every hour or two, they had to step out for a smoke break. And I had started doing coaching work, and my essence was distinguished, and I was still wrapping my mind around it. By the way, when love was distinguished for me, I couldn't necessarily connect to it because I was still in the past. That makes sense? I was like, love is a weakness because based on my past, when I loved, it hurt. So why would you say love is my superpower when love, hurt me in the past, right? It's like, well, love didn't hurt me. It was the person who I thought loved me hurt me, right? Love didn't hurt me, right? But that's a distinction. Okay. So we're on the plane. We're leaving Nicaragua. I believe I was in Nicaragua. We're leaving Nicaragua. And this person is a woman. She's like, hey, we're sitting on a plane together. How's this coaching thing going? I'm like, oh, it's cool. I just, they just distinguish my essence, like she's like, what's essence? So I gave her what I knew at the time. She's like, and what's your essence? It's like, well, my essence is love, peace, connection, enchantment, sovereignty. She's like, okay. I can see that. She's like, the peace I get. I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, well, whenever I'm around you, I notice I smoke less. I have less anxiety. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, when I get home, it's like I'm smoking. I'm like, always got to have a smoke. She was like, but like when I'm in your presence, I don't feel that same level of anxiety. Like there is a peacefulness that you have, even as my boss and as my leader. Like there's a certain peacefulness and order that you bring that is just inherent in who you are. So I smoke less. She's like, matter of fact, she went in her purse. She's like, I still got a whole pack of cigarettes left. Because in us working together this week, I only smoked a couple of times. That's when it hit me. Wow, this thing is real. This thing is real. My wife would tell you, she'll call me. I'll be out of town. I just need you to be on the phone with me, right? I want to, in this big house. I just feel a little anxious, whatever. We'll talk and I feel better now, right? Peace. Peace. Now think about this. When you know what you bring, a moment ago, I was sharing somebody were to, be violent with my family. I'm not even sure if it's possible in my presence because I am peace. You all get that? I say I'm not sure because it's never happened, and God, I pray that I never have to prove it. But I do believe, and I think this is where we tap into our essence, that when I know who I am from my essence, and that's who I be peace, someone can walk up and pull the gun and think, why I even do this? In that moment, that's how powerful vibrations are. Now, let me prove it to you. We've all gotten on the elevator or been in a space with the person who we like, they ain't right. They ain't right. Well, if you're in tune, you also know when they're right. Right? It's like, something to this right here, like that. Yeah. Oh, this individual right here, they got it. Now, you ever been like they got it? Like this right here, they got it. They got it. Like what? How do you know? But there's still a knowing. That's essence. So then imagine if you're moving through life with access to your knowing. I just told a woman that works for my wife and I was at the house the other day. She's like, yeah, I'm dating this guy from L.A. And, he's a good man. Linnell, look at this picture. He's a good man. I said, well, I know when I shake his hand. I wasn't being facetious, y'all. You get where I'm going? Like, I'll know if he a good man, I'll know when I shake his hand. I said, when he's in town, bring him to the house. She said, oh, I will. Bring him to the house. Because if I shake his hand, I'll know this is a good man. It's a good man. He got a good heart. But if he don't, ooh, sis, run. Run. I'll tell her too. Y'all know I will. Run. Something's off. He's disconnected. Something's off. That vibration. That vibration. All right. 4 minutes left. Okay. Let me end it here. It has been documented that a person's essence is their individuality defined. Your identity is who you be. Who you be is your purpose. That's why, like a lot of folks who struggle with insecurities, you don't know your essence. You don't know your identity. You don't know your purpose. We just had a young lady in the coaching corner for Slay Your Goals who struggle with confidence, Linnell. You know, I struggle with fear. Oh, yeah, that's because identity is missing. When you know your identity, then all of a sudden it's like, how can I not be confident? I'm a child of God. My essence is love. My essence is peace. Like, I know who I am. And then I don't go comparing myself to other people. Hey, my inspired peoples. Linnell Harris here, certified ontological coach and trainer. I'm so excited that you're watching the channel. By the way, did you know you can catch the show live at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Sunday morning? You can. All you have to do is go to my Facebook stream, Coach Linnell Harris, catch the stream live, or you can listen to the radio show via iHeart at WVON 1690 AM. But since you're here, if you love the content, I ask that you share it, like this particular video, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're having a great day.